They say the forest only howls when it remembers something, but no one speaks of the night it screamed. I thought I understood the blood that bound us, the rights, the rules, the sacred order of Fang and loyalty. But that was before the full moon rose red, before the pack tore itself apart from the inside out. Deep in the mountain valley, where the mist coils like breath from the gods, there lies a forgotten domain. Old stones whisper names no tongue dares speak, and bones rattle beneath the earth where wolves once danced in circles of fire. For centuries, the rule of the Alpha has passed not only through strength, but through blood, carved in scars, sealed in spirit, anointed by the moon herself. But bloodlines have long memories, and not all were meant to survive. This is Bloodlines of the Broken Pack, a tale of werewolf pack leadership drowned in betrayal, supernatural survival against the pull of madness, and a full moon horror that shattered more than just bones. It shattered trust. The valley is a place cloaked in perpetual fog. Pine trees rise like spears, their tops hidden by clouds. The air is always wet, heavy with rot and old fur. Wolves do not speak here, they remember. On the northern ridge lies Fang Hollow, a cave system carved by time and claw. There, the council stones still bear the claw marks of Alphas long dead. And above it all, hangs the Alpha's crown, a sacred clearing used only on the night of dominance, when blood is spilled for leadership, and the moon decides what the pack becomes. That morning, the mist didn't lift. By dusk, the bones began to appear, arranged in symbols no one had spoken aloud in generations. Spirals, circles, an eye carved into bark, weeping red sap. A sign of a challenger, or a curse. The full moon is only days away, and with it, the right of claw, the sacred challenge that decides who leads and who bleeds. During a sparring rite, a young wolf lunges too hard. No warning, no restraint. His eyes flash black, not gold. Thorn responds on instinct. A swift crack of bone, a howl silenced mid-snap. But when they examine the corpse, they find a brand on his tongue, an ancient sigil, burned in from within. The elders whisper, "It's begun again." So listen closely, stranger. If you're hearing this, mark yourself before the pack does. Leave a sign that you were here. Comment, like, share, subscribe, because once the blood rites begin, no one howls your name when you're gone. The sacred clearing awaits. Fog chokes the air like breath held too long. The full moon hangs bloated in the sky, not silver but sickly white, like the eye of a dead god. The pack gathers, silent. 30 hearts beat, but only one rhythm matters. Now, the drum of challenge. Alpha Thorn steps forward, bare-chested, breath steaming. His shoulders are wide with burden, fur-lined and scarred by years of dominance. He smells of old blood and cold steel. Riven, leaner, younger, stands opposite. No scars yet, only ambition coiled like a viper behind golden eyes. No one speaks. The right of claw forbids it. The challenge is ancient, sacred, unavoidable. The dual Riven strikes first, fast, reckless. His claws flash, but Thorn counters with a brutal shoulder slam. Dust and snow rise in a swirl of violence. The wolves watch from the tree line, eyes gleaming, tails still. Each clash echoes like thunder in a tomb. Blood spatters the sacred stones, the ground drinks deep, but Thorn is slowing. His movements are heavier, not from age, but from doubt. The wound on his side, left by the possessed packmate days before, seeps dark. Riven sees it and smiles. He doesn't win, but he doesn't lose either. Thorn knocks him down, bloodied, broken-jawed, but alive. And in survival, Riven wins something more dangerous than dominance: sympathy. That night, Thorn sits alone in his den. The victory tastes of ash. He sees how some wolves looked at Riven, not with pity but with hope. He paces, snarls, sharpens his claws on stone, and yet doubt creeps in like frost through a cracked wall. They didn't cheer, they didn't howl. They just watched. Thorn sleeps soundly finally, but the forest comes to him. He's running, faster than ever, but the trees never end. Behind him, breath, closer, louder, wet. He turns, and sees golden eyes in the dark. Dozens, no faces, just grins. He wakes choking, clutching his chest, and finds deep claw marks across his ribs. Not dream marks. Real. Fresh. His blood, not his claws. Outside, the clearing lies still. But in the tree line carved into bark are 3 symbols. A crown, a broken fang, and an open eye. Not symbols of tradition, symbols of prophecy, symbols of war. Narrator's voice, whispered. The pack thinks the challenge is over, but tonight was only the first howl. It begins with thunder, not from the sky but from the ground. The valley trembles. The mist turns red at the edges, not from the moonlight, but from something beneath the soil. Wolves stir in their dens. Elders emerge from stone huts, teeth bared, ears flat. It is the day after the rite. There should be silence, rest, reflection. Instead, a storm breaks, but no clouds hang above, no wind blows. The rain is only over Fang Hollow, and it smells of ash and blood. From the edge of the storm walks Kale, draped in black furs, eyes burning faintly red like coal fed too long without air. He does not snarl. He does not bow. He remembers. This place remembers me, he says, voice like gravel dragged across bone. Even if you don't, Thorn confronts him first. The pack forms a loose circle, wary but intrigued. The outsider bears no scent of submission, and yet no one lunges. You trespass on sacred soil, Thorn growls. Kale lifts his hand, and the council stones ignite. Old runes glowing with a blood hue, pulsing like a heartbeat under stone. Kale is no rogue. He is Veilborn, a bloodline, thought extinct. The Memory Keepers, the first priests of the Moon Pact, once tasked with guiding the Alpha through visions and ancestral rites. Betrayed, burned, forgotten, but not gone. Alpha is not taken by tooth alone. Kale whispers, it is given by the dead. He steps into the center of the circle. The runes flare again. Elders fall to their knees, howling, not in pain, but in remembrance. Visions flood them, ancient betrayals, packs torn by ambition, the first Alpha drowned in his own blood. Kale has awakened not just memory, but identity. This isn't a werewolf transformation story, Kale says, locking eyes with Thorn. This is a memory of what we were before the full moon chose us, of what we must become again, or die fractured. One of the younger wolves, Mira, barely turned, steps too close to Kale. Her eyes roll back. She collapses, but she's not unconscious. She begins to whisper in a voice not her own. Old, male, cracked and hungry. I warned them not to break the oath, not to crown the unmarked. The ground beneath her hand cracks. A spiral rune bleeds. Kale kneels beside her, touches her brow and says, it's starting again. She wakes screaming. Her pupils are gone. Her hands are covered in symbols, drawn in her own blood. That night, no one sleeps. Thorn paces, the perimeter. Riven watches Kale from the shadows, neither ally nor enemy. Yet, the pack is no longer divided in two. Now there are 3 sides. Thorn, strength and tradition. Riven, ambition and change. Kale, memory and prophecy. But no side feels safe, and something beneath the cave has begun to whisper to them all. They thought they knew the order. Alpha, Beta, blood, loyalty. But order is just memory, and memory is the first thing to rot. The moon does not rise that night. It should, but it doesn't. Instead, the valley is smothered in pitch, natural dark, so thick torches sputter out. The wolves whisper the moon has turned her face. Thorn stands at the cave's mouth, teeth bared, waiting for clarity. But it's Kale who speaks instead, his voice cutting through the darkness like an old hymn. She turns away not in anger, but in fear of what you've become. The moon does not rise that night. It should, but it doesn't. Instead, the valley is smothered in pitch, natural dark, so thick torches sputter out. The wolves whisper, the moon has turned her face. Thorn stands at the cave's mouth, teeth bared, waiting for clarity. But it's Kyle who speaks instead, his voice cutting through the darkness like an old hymn. She turns away, not in anger, but in fear of what you've become. Kyle demands. A right, ancient and forbidden. The right of memory. It requires an elder. Varek, the last of the old priesthood, is dragged forward, eyes wide with terror. Kale carves a sigil in the earth. The runes bleed. He places Varek's hand in the center. Show them what was stolen, Kale commands. Varek screams, not in pain, but in memory. His mind burns open, and the pack sees the first alpha drowning his own mate to silence her vision, the breaking of the veil-born line in a cave of fire, the theft of a bloodstone that bound wolf to moon. They witness the truth, and truth does not unite. It shatters. One of Thorn's loyal, Joran, lunges at Kale in rage. Another Lyra intercepts him. They were litter mates, raised under the same howl. But Lyra rips his throat open, not as a soldier, but as a believer. Joran dies gurgling, Thorn's name, and no one howls to mark his passing. One of Thorn's loyal, Joran, lunges at Kale in rage. Another Lyra intercepts him. They were litter mates, raised under the same howl. But Lyra rips his throat open, not as a soldier, but as a believer. Joran dies gurgling Thorn's name, and no one howls to mark his passing. The forest no longer breathes. Birds do not chirp, water does not flow. The valley is suspended between life, death, and something older. Thorn sharpens his claws, alone in his den. But even he wonders, what is he still alpha of? They broke the oath. Then they broke the pack. But worse than a pack divided is a pack that forgets why it howled at all. The land shifts. Paths once familiar now twist like coiled intestines. Trees lean inward, their bark sweating dark sap. The mists never lift, not even at dawn. Wolves lose their way. Voices echo where no mouth speaks. And when they sleep, they dream of teeth. Endless spiraling teeth, not chewing but watching. Kale no longer hides his power. He moves like a man in shadow. But when he speaks, his voice reverberates in the earth. At night, the pack hears chanting, not in any language they know. Some say it's the moon's voice before she learned silence. Others say it's the true tongue, the one wolves spoke before the change. Kale grows taller, not in body, but in presence. His eyes are no longer Edwig, they're mirrors. You don't see your reflection in them, you see your death. The pack turns on itself. Mira tries to slit her own throat with a claw, whispering, "There's something inside me trying to come out, and it's not mine." Riven, now Kale's closest follower, begins branding others with bone-carved sigils. Those branded do not speak. They howl in their sleep, even in human form. Thorn is isolated. His few loyal are hunted one by one, not in battle but in sleep, their hearts clawed out as offerings. No one sees the killers, only the eyes. Eyes that blink once, then vanish. One night, Thorn collapses in the sacred clearing, alone, weak. The ground pulses, and he sees a throne of bones beneath a blood-filled sky. A wolf too large, too wrong, limbs bending backwards, muzzle split with rows of human teeth. Its voice is all voices, its howl is silence given shape. You are not the first to fall, you are just the first to remember falling. Thorn wakes screaming. His fur has gone gray. His claws are worn flat from clutching stone. He is breaking. One night, Thorn collapses in the sacred clearing, alone, weak. The ground pulses, and he sees a throne of bones beneath a blood-filled sky. A wolf too large, too wrong, limbs bending backwards, muzzle split with rows of human teeth. Its voice is all voices. Its howl is silence given shape. You are not the first to fall. You are just the first to remember falling. Thorn wakes screaming. His fur has gone gray. His claws are worn flat from clutching stone. He is breaking. Thorn returns to his den, finds claw marks carved into the walls, not his. He's already in the pack, one reads. You're just the last to know. Another, the final one bleeds. Choose who dies next. There was a time the alpha led the hunt. Now the alpha is hunted not by fangs but by memory, not by enemies but by his own blood. It hangs like an open wound in the sky, not full, bloated, swollen. Its color seeps into the trees, the mist, the fur of the wolves that gather below. No one speaks, no one howls. They've all seen the sigils of erasure carved into the sacred stones. They know what Cale plans, and still they came. Cale stands alone in the clearing, naked but painted in blood, not his own. He speaks the ancient invocation. Blood forgets, memory fails. But I remember. I am the echo that silences the scream. He holds a relic, a stone fang, blackened and humming, the fang of the first betrayer. With it, he will cut the last thread of Thorn's line from the memory of the moon herself. If he succeeds, Thorn will be unmade, not just killed, but forgotten. He enters the clearing alone. No allies, no words, only claws. You want my name gone? Thorn growls. Then carve it from my corpse. Cale smiles, not with joy but with inevitability. Your corpse is the easy part, he says, and then they clash. Fangs meet flesh. Bone cracks. The forest itself recoils. Trees bending, roots shifting as the duel rips through the clearing. Spirits rise. Ancestral wolves, ghostly and massive, circling above like vultures. They howl not in support but in judgment. Kyle channels the old blood. His body warps, not into a wolf, but into something ancient and wrong. Limbs extend, spine shatters and reshapes. His voice becomes three voices, past, present, and forgotten. Thorn is overwhelmed, but he grabs the fang of the first betrayer. Not to use it, but to break it. He smashes it against the altar stone, and the runes scream. The sky splits. The red moon flickers as if blinking. The spirits descend, not to Cale, not to Thorn, but to Riven, who has stood silent, unsure, until now. They tear him apart, not body, memory. One moment, Riven is there. The next, no one remembers who he was, not even his own mate. Thorn falls to one knee. Cale is gone, evaporated in smoke and ancestral fury. The wolves stare, eyes wide, unsure whether to kneel or run. A wolf throne rises from the center of the clearing, forged from the bones of every alpha before. It glows faintly, not in power, but in warning. The pack does not kneel to Thorn. They kneel to absence. Power was never the prize, memory was, and now they remember the cost of forgetting. The pack is whole again, but not one of them could tell you who made it so. Time passes. The mist still clings to the valley, the trees still groan under unseen weight. But the names are gone. No one speaks of Thorn, no one remembers Cale. No one even knows what the wolf throne means anymore, only that it must never be touched. The pack survives. It functions as wolves do, hunts, breeds, endures. But at night they sleep uneasily, as if something forgotten watches. A new generation, a young pup, barely shifted, wakes from a dream. He says he saw a wolf with no face, only eyes that reflected stars. He doesn't tell his mother. Instead, he walks into the forest. At the edge of the clearing, he finds bark carved in a spiral, beneath it 3 words etched in stone. I remember you. That night a howl rises through the trees. It is not a call of dominance, not a cry for help, not even grief. It is a question, a reminder, a door, creaking open. And across the valley, wolves freeze, their breath caught, their blood cold, because the howl doesn't end. It echoes, not once, not twice, but endlessly, like something lost has found its way home. As the pup returns, the mist parts for him. Just before he steps back into the den, he hears it, a whisper, in a voice he has never known. In a tone that knows him, thank you for remembering. He turns, no one's there, but far beyond the trees something massive shifts. Something ancient and awake. The pack forgot, the bloodlines broke, but memory never dies. It just waits, until someone howls it back. If you heard the howl, it knows. You now mark your presence before the memory takes root. Like, share, subscribe, and if you dream tonight, don't answer the whisper. Not yet. The blood-bound moon isn't done with you. And for those who hunger for more, step deeper into the shadows with our ultimate werewolf horror playlist, linked in the description below. In the world of horror, the scariest things happen when you least expect them. And trust me, you don't want to be left in the dark. Welcome to the darkness.